Okay, so that was ugly. That was ugly. I'm gonna quote Red Dirt Sport here and say, after tonight, let us never speak of this again, because God, that was ugly. I mean, yeah, win 51-46 for the folks that didn't want to stay up that late, but man, that wasn't as much fun as it should have been. Honestly, just weren't really having a good time there, man. I mean, felt like yelling at the screen, felt like yelling at the defense, felt like I was yelling at myself, felt like I was yelling at Twitter. It's just bad. I 10 penalties, 113 yards. You know, I mean, the bright spots were things like Trey Sermon running the ball 26 times for 206 yards, 3 touchdowns. Another bright spot was Robert Barnes. You know, that was fun. That was probably the most fun that I'd ever seen the defense for, you know, just period. Robert Barnes with a big pick. Look, you're down 2 in that instance, or you're not down 2. You're up 2 in that instance, but Tech got all the momentum. You know, you got to feel them coming. Cliff Kingsbury, who's always been a little big for his britches, decides to go for 2 instead of the 1. I understand the thinking, though. You want to tie the game up, and you don't think that 1 necessarily helps you, but you go get the sure points, man. Instead, Robert Barnes picks you off in the end zone, takes it back Ed Reed style out of the end zone all the way down. We'll take those 2 points, and a 1-score ball game becomes a 2-score ball game because, well, 4 points in college football, and any football really, means a 2-score cushion, and that's awesome. So, I mean, I just thought this was ugly. I didn't have a whole lot of fun watching it. I had fun watching Kyler, figure out who he is after those first 2 picks. One of those, I'm not even sure that he knew who he was throwing to on the first one. I think Vontae Dorsey never saw him, and Vontae Dorsey skyrocketed to the top of the Oklahoma most hated list. Good for him. You know, distinguished company there. It's folks like Kevin Durant, Patrick Beverly, Brian Greasy. You know, that's what it was. I mean, good for him. Good for him. He had a ball game. He was absolutely awesome. Yeah, man. Let's do the roll call before I get into my real peeves. So if you're in the chat, I'm going to shout you out. If you're not in the chat, thanks for watching the replay. See, $5 super chat. Who we got? Who is this from? Pete Allen. Motley switched to oatmeal because his grits got cooked and stole. We'll get into Parnell Motley, who, by the way, I grade out as, not terrible. But we'll get into that. So if you're in the chat, Bryson, what's good? Robert Lane, what's good? RC Gusto, I see you. Ryan Riddick's in here. Fernando, what's good? Lamar, I see you. William Courtwright. RJ Middle Age is still weird because he's RJ old. Nate Broadus, what's good? Clint Johnson's in here. Greg Ray, I see you, fam. Keegan Daniels. Hunter, what's good? Dakota, what's good? Crankstar, I see you. Billy Clark in the house. Sports Savant! What's good, fam? Sports Savant's been doing this for a very long time. Shout out to him. JT Rhodes, what's good? Heavy D, what's good? Miles Montoya, 405 boy. Southwest Missouri Sooner, Twitter fave. JW19, what's good? Bradley Carriger, what's good, fam? Sean Robertson's in here. Brandon Nesbitt, Sheldon Lamy, Disciple, what's good? What's up, Uncle Lou? Congrats on the W today. Tom Jackson, what's good? Steven Tiger, what's good? Pure Living for Outdoors. William Zabala, Miles Montoya. Let me see who else we got in here. Taryn Bullock, what's good? Dustin, what's good? CD Tollison, Matthew Ainsworth. Dylan, Cody Payne, Ronnie Williams. Vegas Rambler, Sooners Fanatic. Let me see. Sooner Bears in here. Jacob Franklin. Becky! Let me see. Yeah, we're going to get into the penalties. Jared Jones, what's good? Ian, what's good? Stuart Yamashita. Hey, Washington, what's good? Let's see. Lloyd Grissom, I see you, fam. Ryan, what's good? Brandon Rader, what's good? Morgan Drummond. Wolf Vibes. Dukin is in the hizzy. I see you, fam. Matthew Bingham's in here. Tom Jackson. Travis Penner. Austin Giver. Kyle Roach. Jacoby M. Stephen Gordon! What's good, fam? Matthew Walker, Raw Material, Jeff Ramsey. Let me see. Johnson, what's good? Tim Bailey coming in strong. Ugly game. Yep, I'll be sick if let me see. I'll be sick if I see a ref again after this game. Word officiating kept Tech in it. Almost nothing about this game made any sense. We'll get into that in a little bit. Carson G. Matt, what's good? Jay Jones. Matt Ahmed, what's good? Casey Capshaw's in the house. By the way, we got that E-cam, Casey. So when we get here, we'll be ready. Best tackle trainer on the fan. I see what you did there. Michael Melton, what's good? Brady Melton, what's good? Don Dixon, I see you, fam. Chihuahua Mom, what's good? Shout out to Laurel, Weapon X, Brave, Mama. I know Terry's gonna be through. Sydney's gonna be through. And Dieter Cross, what's good, man? So I want to start just with the obvious of Kyler Murray seemingly being possessed by a demon, otherwise known as Nathan Peterman, to start the game. One pick, we don't like one pick, but 2 picks, like I didn't understand. I didn't know what he was looking at on the first one. I mean, it looked like the Brandon Jones one against Texas, where it was just inexplicable, like he didn't see Devontae Dorsey, didn't see him, right? And then you're down. You're down 2 scores, and all of a sudden, this game that we thought we were going to walk through, we don't walk through. All of a sudden, we got a ball game. Greg Tate, we missed Buki today. Everybody vote for Marcus Hicks. He deserves to be in the URA game. Yeah, if you haven't voted for Marcus Hicks, Kelvin Hicks' father has been tweeting up a storm. Most of us have been retweeting it, trying to get votes. He's got instructions about how you can help Marcus Hicks get in that All-America game. It's a big deal to him and his family. Been trying to help out myself. So, after Kyler came back down to earth, we kind of understood, right? We get it. Everybody's shouting at Lincoln to run the ball. I am not as good a play caller as Lincoln Riley. Nobody is. Nobody on earth is as good a play caller as Lincoln Riley. So, I got a hard time telling that dude what he should do and how he should do it. But I understand the rest of y'all really ain't got that issue. So, y'all were just on Twitter in his grill talking about run the ball. And to be fair, like I was tweeting the stats, is 50-50 run. Lincoln was doing what he normally does. Like, we can go take a look at the stats now, and I'll let you know, you had 79 plays from Oklahoma. 35 of those were pass plays. 44 of those were run plays, all right? At one point, it was split down the middle, 33 runs, 33 passes, 66 plays, right? You were doing what you normally do, honestly. Now, I know that the game seems a little different because you were working out of a hole, right, with the 2 interceptions. And that's why I was really starting to get a little, annoyed with the banging on the defense again, because the defense didn't actually play all that badly, man. I mean, honestly, I know everybody wants to throw Parnell Motley and Jordan Parker under the bus, but everybody was singing Jordan Parker's praises at the start of the game when he had that big pass breakup. He's playing for Buki, right? We understand now what the secondary looks without Buki on the field, so all the Buki haters can sit down for a while. We see why we haven't seen a lot of Jordan Parker, but he had some good plays, kind of like Charleston Rambo. There's some good and some bad. Trey Brown, he played well. Now, all things considered, Antoine Wesley had 12 catches for 199 yards, so somebody's got to answer for that. But the secondary as a whole, I grade him out as a B-, man, honestly. B-, C+. You never want to give up that kind of yardage, but it is Texas Tech, and that is what they do. And I can't tell you how many times folks tweeted at me to tell me, yo, man, you're giving the defense credit when a backup quarterback's in the game. Whatever, man. You got to play who you got to play. It's like dinging them for the Army game. They won. Army 7-2. At some point, it's not necessarily just you're not going to get game out of Parnell Motley that you've never seen before. The dude's actually pretty good at covering people. He just doesn't have all the ball skills. He had 2 picks today. They just took him back, which, I get in the recap video, is my own rant about Big 12 officiating, how much I really, really think this conference hates us. We kind of hate this conference. I think we need a divorce, and we're taking half. But that's just where I'm at with that. I got a hard time just picking on those kids, man. Let me see. Go ahead, Green. Trey Sermon with the workload tonight. It was nice watching him take his time to find those holes. Wait a second. I'm gonna get this next super chat, and then I'm gonna bang on that. Williams Waller. Yes, RJOU or our D played fairly well. I've been saying the same thing. First, I've been calling Trey Sermon Le'Veon Bell all this time. So, yeah, he's patient. Cody Hudson. How much did we get spoiled by Baker to where we feel like picks are just third world? Oklahoma put up 685 yards. We are Warriors of college football. First of all, nobody remembers Baker in 2015 where he did throw picks. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up Baker's college football numbers so that we can get a refresher on that, because as good as Baker Mayfield was at Oklahoma in 2016 and 2017, his first year as a starter at Oklahoma, he wasn't that great. I mean, he was good, but especially the first 4 games, they were garbage. They sucked. And Lincoln will be the first person to tell you that. It wasn't coming together well. So I don't hear that, right? Plus Kyler's thrown 4 picks this season. 4. We take that. We take that out of any quarterback. What? 9 games in? Yeah, you take that. You'd be a fool not to take that. Let me see. Let's look at his 2015 numbers. He had 7 picks. He had 7 picks in 2015. 36 touchdowns, 7 picks. He had 8 picks in 2016, and he had 6 picks in 2017. Kyler's got 4. Come on, man. He's playing better than Baker Mayfield played. You got to keep this stuff in perspective. I know that the knee-jerk stuff is where some people are at with this, but that's not where I'm at with it. Look, I take this as a piece. What I have problems with are 10 penalties for 113 yards. What I have problems with is CeeDee Lamb picking up 2 personal fouls on 1 play. Okay? What I got problems with is Cody Ford throwing his hands at the guy, and he should have been kicked out of the game, frankly. You can talk about how, the offense finally got one from the rest, but that's not the way I see it. You play the game with integrity, or you don't play the game at all. Period. Right? That's the thing that we think. That's the thing that we say. It doesn't matter. It matters that we win games. It matters more how we win those games. Right? Because nobody wants to be supporting a team that plays by prison rules. Right? Or can't keep its cool. Now, who else would you want to pick on? You want to pick on the defensive line? Neville Gallimore had a sack. Ronnie Perkins played his butt off. Kenneth Mann played his butt off. Amani Bledsoe played his butt off. What are we really getting upset about here? Honestly. Brandon Nesbitt, appreciate the $3 super chat. Yeah, I'm looking at the stats, and I said, 473 yards total offense, 366 through the air for Tech. You're also holding them to 6.7 yards per play. You'll take that. A team that scores 43 a game scored 46. And I've said it before. Oklahoma's going to put up 45, probably going to put up more than 45, and that's what it's going to take to beat them. And they put up 46, and Oklahoma still wins, 51-46 in an ugly game. Ugly. I mean, we were fighting each other. It was so ugly. We're fighting the refs. We're fighting each other. We're yelling about the game and how it's being called, because you go into halftime down 31-28, wondering about Lincoln Riley's clock management, his use of timeouts, because you just trot Austin Seibert out there with 11 seconds left. The clock stopped. You go get 3, you're tied up, you get the ball to start the second half. Nobody understands that, and for good reason. Lincoln Riley needs to really think that one through and give an understanding, if he has a good excuse, but a good reason for why he decided to do that. We all need to hear it, because as it stands right now, that's not good clock management. That's Andy Reid type clock management. You know what I mean? All right? And then you got stops out of the defense. After getting 1 punt in the first half, forcing 1 punt, you got 2 back-to-back. That's defensive adjustments. And I don't want to hear any more of this backup quarterback stuff, man. You can only play who's on the field. I don't know why Alan Bowman went down. I think he got popped in the eye with something, but he did. Didn't come back in. He was actually outplaying Kyler in the first half. And that's the only thing that I'm going to agree with Brian Greasy about, because I just really couldn't stand Brian Greasy out there. Magic 40-yard drop leads to field goal. PI takes a pick. Holden Tech scored 4th goal. Only thing the defense really upset me was last drive when it felt like they didn't play. Okay, Tim. The last drive where it felt like they were going to win the game? Yeah. I mean, and they're tired and they're angry and they want to go home. Lubbock is still a place where the second time I was ever in Lubbock, I'm going to tell that story another day. I'm going to hold on to that story. Point is, I thought the defense played its behind off, all things considered. Yeah, there's some personal fouls. Yeah, there's some stuff that you want back. But for the most part, we knew that Antoine Wesley, TJ Vasher, those guys were going to be a load. Didn't know Alan Bowman was going to be that surgical with the ball. He's going to be pretty good in the next couple of years. He's just a freshman. But for the most part, I don't have beef. not with the defense. I got beef with Hollywood Brown making the catch, fumbling it, then it being incomplete. I got beef with CeeDee Lamb and the way that he just played the entire game. You know, Grant Calcaterra was a man. Showed up, caught passes, stared down people that were cracking him. Vontae Dorsey had a game. You know, I mean, you stood up against that stuff. Lee Morris had a game. You know, Kennedy Brooks came in spurts. He was great. Here's the other thing about Kyler Murray. Short of the 2 picks, he was, again, just, you know, Kyler Murray. He had 360 yards through the air. He had 100 yards rushing. I mean, come on. Getting out of Lubbock with a win is big. Love the videos. Thank you, Jaden. I appreciate that. And I hear you saying we need more pressure on the quarterback, but at what expense? Dukin says, no question, just love. Keep on, fam. I appreciate you. I appreciate you, Dukin. Yeah, look, you didn't get a great game out of the defense, right? But you didn't get a bad game out of the defense. I mean, it's the team that's averaging 43 a game. They gave it 46. I'm not angry with them. Robert, what do you got? Robert says, top 4, Bama, Clemson, Michigan, Notre Dame. I got to think about it. I got to take into some scores. I got to dig into some box stuff. I watched none of the Bama LSU game because I'm watching our game. So I'll get back to you, Robert, and just take your picks as they are. Greg Tate says, we got to return for 2 points without Buki. Put some respect on it. I hear you, but I don't think that was because it was without Buki. I think it was because Robert Barnes came to play. Robert Barnes came to play all day. How much Khalil Houghton did you see out there? Think about that for a second. How many people have been yelling about Khalil Houghton being on the field at all? Right? You saw a lot of Jordan Parker. You're going to see Khalil Houghton, you're going to see Jordan Parker if you don't see Buki. Right? You saw a lot of Justin Boyles, Trey Norwood, Parnell Motley, Trey Brown. You know, you're going to see 5 DBs. You're going to see 6 DBs. I get people are upset about 3-man front, myself being one of them, but also, what are you going to do? You going to bring 5 every time against them? No, you're not. You're not even going to bring 4 every time because they're going to have 5 guys out in routes. I knew that 3-man fronts were going to just be a thing that we saw. 7-yard cushions, now we can have a talk about that. I get the excuse being that the DBs are too small to play man-to-man, that they get just roughed up against bigger receivers. I don't buy it, and I don't like it, so I don't really let that one slide. Right? But Ronnie Perkins dropping into coverage, I could do without that. That's one of those things that just kind of... Defensive ends, go forward, not backward. That's where I'm at with that, man. We got linebackers and safeties that can do that kind of stuff. That said, Mark Jackson being back there had one heck of a crack. Just, I forget who he depleted, but he depleted somebody. And it was beautiful to watch. Let's see. I mean, y'all can talk about LSU Bama, but I didn't watch any of it, so I'm not gonna. RJ, speaking on the record, is OU a top 4 team? If not, who is? Michigan. Michigan is the number 4 team in the country if I have to pick one out of a hat today. Right? Because I watched Michigan, Penn State when I wasn't watching Texas, West Virginia. Yeah. Plus, Michigan's resume is just better than Oklahoma's resume. You know, while it was cool to watch West Virginia beat Texas, that doesn't necessarily help our argument with Texas being a quality loss, right? And while it was cool watching Baylor come back and beat Oklahoma State, that's the same Oklahoma State team that just beat Texas, you know? It's just not a good thing for your argument, whereas Michigan's only loss is to a Notre Dame team that's still undefeated, right? And I knew that an SEC team was going to go down this weekend. It was about whether or not it was going to be 2, right? I mean, well, whether or not it was going to be the 2 that we needed to go down, right? And I don't think it was. Bama won, right? And UGA beat UK. So Kentucky is no longer just a viable option, which is sad for them because I liked watching their defense. However, this looks good for Georgia, really. What else we got in here? Ready to see more Redmond. I mean, I thought we've already seen so much Redmond that I'm fine with it. That kid wasn't supposed to play at all. It was even on the table that he might not even play ever again. So that we see as much Redmond as we do see, just in the units coming in and out, nah, man. I'm good with that. Also, those of you that were questioning my scoop on Marcellus Sutton, what else we got in here? Bro, you need to shave. Nah, man, you need to shave. What else we got in here? Yeah, if I'm making, I'll bet Oklahoma moves to number 6, but that'd be it. You know, if I'm thinking about it, the way that I would have it, Bama, Clemson, Michigan, or Notre Dame. I don't know which because I didn't watch any of those of the Notre Dame games, so I don't know how closely or not closely they played Northwestern. Georgia beating Kentucky is a good win because that's a top 10 team that they beat, so they're gonna move up. I would think 5 or 6. I think Oklahoma could move to 6 or 7, but I don't know what Washington State is doing or did do. You know, there's just a lot of stuff. I do know we don't have to worry about Florida anymore. I do know don't have to worry about Texas anymore. So that's nice. Don't have to worry about, no, Auburn came back and lost to A&M. Didn't no, Auburn came back and beat A&M. That's right, because Auburn has to beat Ole Miss and LSU to get to 8 wins. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Man, I was just thinking about that. Hate Texas. That's number 1. Hate A&M. Don't like A&M. You know? Don't really like Clemson either, but we hate A&M. Don't really like Oklahoma State, but they don't really rate. I was thinking a lot about that. I was thinking about the OU fans hate list and how that must look now. Let me see. What else we got in here? What is the live chat? What do we got for the live chat? Let's see. Some buttons that I can toggle here. Yep, Auburn won. RJ, when you going to make a game? When I make a game. When I make a game. But, you know, I'm not going to make a game and do the live stream. Think about that for a second. There will be no post-game live stream I go to a game. Period. How would you have me do it? You know? I don't think people really give that a thought. Let me see. Robert Lane says, Indy squeaked by Michigan, drubbed Penn State. Okay, so Michigan... I don't know, man. I don't think Michigan is going to get the same swerve that LSU got. So I think Notre Dame is going to slide in that 3 spot. I think Michigan's going to slide in that 4 spot. LSU might drop as far as 6 or 7, but I don't think they're going to go that far. The committee has so much respect for the SEC. It's not even funny. It's really not. It's actually kind of sickening. Stephen Gordon. Hey, RJ, I have no debt. The owner of the hospital came in and said he paid all my bills in future. Whatever, dude! Yo, Stephen Gordon, cancer patient, right? And my man's been battling. He's been battling a while. Huge OU fan. He's tweeting all the time. The channel with the super chat donation, we sent him some gear. And he said that he had some news that he was going to share on the post-game stream. And I think that's the news. The news is that the owner of the hospital is comping his stay, paying all his bills and any other bills that he might incur. That is extremely cool, dude. I'm so happy to hear that. I'm happy for you. I'm also terribly happy for your parents, man. I'll bet they broke down in some tears. Very cool news. Thank you for sharing that. That's very cool. No, that's awesome. That's flipping awesome. Yes, that's flipping awesome. Like, y'all know how much it costed. Costs so much to be sick. And yeah, man. Like all your bills, dude. Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Like, again, I'd hug you, but I really want to hug your parents because that's it's awesome. It's real. Seriously. RG crying on live stream. I need to stop. Very cool, dude. I get I'm not crying, you're crying. It's just awesome, man. Steven got all my emotions right now, man. Football. We can talk football. Celebrate no debt. kids. Just. It's awesome. It's awesome. Ugly game, rough game. Awesome. Yeah, man. I got you, Cody. I got you. Yeah, I got you, Cody. Greg Tate. I want Bama and UGA in the playoffs so we can shift the SEC dominance. Big 12 is stronger when UT is up. We can't compete with we can't compete with Bama and right now. Period. Nobody can. That's kind of the suck. UGA we proved that we can beat UGA. We just didn't. All right, and there's no Roquan Smith to save them this time. There's no Sony Michel. There's no Nick Chubb to save them. I get Swift's good. I get Holyfield's good. We can run with them, dude. We can run with everybody in the SEC except Bama. I got a better shot at beating Clemson than Bama right now. Even before the LSU game, I was like, it's a Big 12 offense with an SEC defense, which is the dream. Honestly, that's what I wanted. Oklahoma, like they just got there first. That was what I wanted to see. I wanted Oklahoma to become what Bama is today. And they still can't do that. I just don't see it in the near term, Greg. Really don't. Robert says, send a thank you package to owner RJ from us. Yeah, I'm going to figure it out. Figure out who that is, Robert. Good call. Free Ray. Why weren't the Roughnecks at the game? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not their mama. Let me see. Love the shirt. I appreciate it. I dig on my shirts. Like I got a lot of shirts. I'm a shirt guy. What else we got? Cal Washington now tied at 13. Man, Cal's just taking people down. What last week is Washington. Now it could be Washington State. That's wow. Real difficult for Leach not to score. Oh, all right, cool, whatever. I don't care. It's Pac-12 football. Nobody cares about Pac-12 football. I guess that's kind of the point. Let me see. What else we got? We are okay, but not great. Yeah, I think at this point, if you get into the college football playoff, the best matchup today is Michigan for Oklahoma, but we're both not going to get in unless Notre Dame takes 2 L's, right? Clemson takes a couple, maybe. But I don't see Clemson taking any at all, honestly. Just like I don't see Bama taking any at all. Sheldon says, how can the defense improve? Do you think we need to go for outside for a D coordinator? At this point, you can change the scheme, and there's been a bit of that already. But if you want to run a 3-4, yeah, you got to go get a 3-4 guy. Ruffin ain't a 3-4 guy, right? And that's basically still the kind of scheme that he's working with because you can't change the whole thing wholesale. That said, if you can get athletes, if you can get 4- and 5-star guys to commit to play defense at Oklahoma, you can run whatever you want. Like, that's what I tell people about Alabama. They'll be like, they run a 3-4 at Alabama. Well, Alabama's got the best talent in the world. You can run whatever you want. You can run a 4-4, you can run a 4-3, you can run a 4-2, you can run a 5-2. It doesn't matter because they're better. As Joel Klatt likes to say, his Jimmies are better than your Joes. Period. So it doesn't matter. You know, what I think is great is that Lincoln Ruffin has the kids playing with some confidence. You can't yell at this group of kids. If you yell at me, I'm going to shut down, right? And that doesn't mean I'm going to fold. It means that I'm going to find a way around you. I'm going to do what I know how to do in the best way that I know how to do it. Now, that's also something that an older generation is just not used to, and they don't necessarily like to work with it because it's one thing to think that you can shut a kid down by yelling at them and that they're going to fold and that they're going to cry about it. What you'll find is they just get angry and mad and rebel, right? I mean, we're products of our parents. We learned it from somewhere. And I think Ruffin understands that. Ruffin knows that if you talk to the kids like they're kids, they will run through walls for you. So if that's what you got to go get in a coordinator, that's what you got to go get. So, I mean, like I said, I made those videos. We'll see what it looks like at the end of the season. But to entertain it right now, why? I mean, I wouldn't. Appreciate that, Carson. Let me see what else we got. Or do you think that knowing that the refs almost threw the game? Refs are trash. They've been trash all day. They've been trash all year. Did they throw the game? Not really. Were they in the way? Were they annoying? Yes. Very much so. I mean, what I tell people is that football, as a rule, is an inferior product to basketball because basketball has embraced fun. Period. Baseball hasn't embraced fun yet, and I love baseball. I grew up playing baseball. I know more about baseball than I probably should, right? Like, for instance, I got mad at Alex Bregman earlier, I guess yesterday, because it's past midnight now, because he picked Tech to beat Oklahoma. But I also know that Alex Bregman changed high school baseball forever, right? It's just not fun because they don't want to have fun. They don't want personality in the game. Same thing with football. What do you mean you're tossing flags for a Dragon Ball Z celebration? You know? Now, I get that throwing hands is throwing hands, and we can't have that in the game. But jawing is a part of the game. You hit people in this sport. That's a part of the game. You know, you saw it with Texas and West Virginia today. You know, they were tossing guys for basically having feelings. You know, so that's what I got a problem with. There's some of this you can rein in. Others of it is just garbage, and I hate that. No, I didn't, Carson. I said thank you. Let me see what else we got in here. Would you expand the college football playoff? No. I would just make it a playoff. 16 teams. 16. 16 is good enough for pro football. It's good enough for FCS. Good enough for high school. 16 teams. Hell, I think they got more than that in Texas 5A. Yeah, 4? No, let UCF in so we can drill them. For those of you that missed it, Danny White picked a fight with Oklahoma. Right? Danny White is the athletic director at UCF, who is, you know, having a pity party because nobody takes his team seriously because they're undefeated, but they also haven't played anybody. Now, I believe that all undefeated teams should have an opportunity to go for the title. But you can't look at their schedule and say their schedule is on par with Clemson's schedule or with Alabama's schedule or even with LSU with 2 losses. Right? Nah, can't do that. West Virginia would destroy that team. Texas would hurt that team. Florida would take that team apart. UCF got 700 yards dropped on it by Temple. Who is Temple? Exactly. You know, that's kind of the thing. Lad says, in the end, win is a win. Love your channel, RJ. Appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, that's what it comes down to. You know, you can't begin to have a conversation about making the college football playoff if you don't win tonight. And you won, but there is no real argument to move up or down except that other teams lost, right? And Kentucky lost, they're behind you. Washington State, if they lose, they're behind you. Only team that lost in front of Oklahoma is what? LSU? Where are you going to go? Michigan beat a ranked opponent's day, right? Texas Tech is good. They ain't good as Penn State. Penn State's bad. Penn State's not bad. Penn State is mediocre. Ohio State nearly lost to Nebraska, but they'll move up because Kentucky lost and because Washington State is kind of on the ropes, you know, last we checked. Clint Johnston, RJ what was going on with Lamb? 30 combined yards on 2 silly penalties that took sure touchdown away. What were your thoughts on him tonight? Composure. Look, I think John is a part of the game. I like talking trash, but because the personal fouls and the unsportsmanlike conduct penalties are a judgment call on the part of referees, as soon as they say that they're calling it, you can't do it anymore. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter that you're right. It matters that you cost the team 15 yards. I mean, CeeDee Lamb basically took a score away from the team. Right? I mean, you can't have that. And you can have a conversation about it afterwards, but you can't argue with the referee on it because he'll just keep throwing flags. Because, you know, big man, big power. I mean, you just can't. Because at the end of the day, you have to win the game. You know, you can't win the referee. You have to win the game. And that's kind of my issue with all of this is that referees more often are on a power trip, and why wouldn't they be? They don't get any money, or they don't get real money to be referees. They do a lot of this on their own dime. They take a lot of bullets for being, you know, sometimes good at their jobs, but sometimes not. It's just not really a job that a lot of folks aspire to do unless they are real in the rules. And guess what? If you're real in the rules, you tend to enforce them. And you tend to enforce them at all the wrong times because judgment calls aren't really a big deal to you. It's about the letter of the law. Which is why I can't date a referee. Not that I would ever date a referee. I'm in a very cool relationship. But the point is, no. I mean, man. Who marries a referee? Honestly. That's a radio topic, and we'll get that. Let's see. Greg Tate, what do you think about Big 12 taking on trash teams and playing 7-team schedule, OU North and UT in the South? Whatever you want to do, Greg. I don't think anything's going to help the cause. Baylor tried it. Didn't work for Baylor. Oklahoma State continues to try it. Doesn't work for them. And plus, it's not about getting to the college football playoff with a trash schedule. It's about, do you have pride in what you do? Because if you have pride in what you do, you schedule everybody. Or anybody that wants to schedule you. Why are we budgeting wins and losses? This is football. 11 folks, a lineup from 11 folks, and you want to find out if your Jimmys are better than their Joes, let's go play some ball. Enough of this. This is why the playoff needs to be expanded to 16 teams. Because I don't want to have these conversations anymore about whether or not your schedule's good enough. I want you to have to do it in games that matter. The regular season should only exist to see who the playoff teams are. Not to find out who has the best schedule. Which is a crapshoot often. Right? You think UCF really wanted to play teams that didn't have winning records? No. Did they want to play those teams? Some of them, yeah. It's like Oklahoma. When you scheduled the UCLA game, Jim Moore's UCLA was humming right along. Now they're not. Now they're trash. When you scheduled Florida Atlantic, you expected them to be kind of trash. They weren't last year. They kind of are this year, but nothing like when you scheduled them. When you scheduled Army, that was just for OU and West Point fans because the history. Not because Army's good. That's kind of it. I don't want to have those discussions anymore. I hate that argument. I hate having to have it about whose schedule was better. Because, we have to now because we're talking about who's getting to 4 spots that essentially could go to 12 teams. So just expand it to 16. Make sure everybody that needs to get in does get in. If we get into a place to where 8 and 4 teams are getting into the playoff, I'm fine with that. Being undefeated means more than winning your conference doesn't. No, it doesn't. Tell it to UCF. Right? They've won 21 straight. Nobody cares. Won their conference. Alabama didn't even win its division last year. Won a national title because it doesn't matter that you go undefeated. Right? It matters what your conference does or it matters how good you look on the field. What a bunch of people in a room eating lunch have to say about what you do on a football field. I want scoreboards to figure out who national champions are. Just like every other sport. I don't want, you didn't schedule an SEC opponent this year, or you scheduled an FCS opponent this year, whatever. Your fans will let you know. We let them know. We are not happy about having South Dakota State on the schedule. Having Missouri State on the schedule. We like having Ohio State, Tennessee, LSU backed out of one game with us, a home and home. Notre Dame being on the schedule, we like that. We want to play teams that matter because we matter. Right? That's just it. Jacob Franklin, dumb question. Why does Tech throw tortillas on the field? I don't really know, fam. I never looked that one up. There's articles out there about it, though, if you look. I don't need to tell it to Greg. Greg, I don't tell it to Bama because this is an OU channel. I don't care. Bama does what Bama does. We do what we do. We'll see how it shakes out. When we saw Bama last time, beat them in the Sugar Bowl. I can yell about how the SEC is trash, but nobody cares. Because the committee puts so much focus into the SEC. That's where they believe the best football is. So, we have 25 teams ranked because the Associated Press said 25 teams. Because College Football Playoff Selection Committee says 25 teams. Not because I say 27 or I say 20. It doesn't really matter. What matters is what those people in a room think. And I hate that. I don't want it to be about what I think or what you think. I want it to be about what the score says. Let me see. What's the deal with Gallimore playing time? I don't know, dog. You're talking about a position coach making decisions there. I mean, that's a question for Calvin Thibodeau. I don't know what to tell you, Jake. I know that when he's on the field, good things happen. He had a sack tonight. I know that when Ronnie Perkins is on the field, good things happen. Same thing with Amani Bledsoe. Dylan Famatal got the start though, right? Don't know. Saw a little bit of Q Overton, not a lot. Feel bad for Cal. I think we all do. That dude's been. He had a fumble, he had a bunch of drops, and then he played his butt off, and he, comes up just kind of lame. I hope he's all right. Stephen Gordon. Hey, RJ, I'm leaving. It's late, and I'll tell you the info tomorrow in PM. Deuces. Deuces, fam. Appreciate you. Thanks for sharing the good news and making me cry. You make me cry. I appreciate you. Let's see. The SEC is the most talented. That's just a fact. Yeah, I mean, but that's... Yeah. Still would like to see 16 teams get in because that's why we play the games. We don't play the games for a selection committee to rank some teams. We play the games because we want to find out who's good. We want to find out who's the best. And everybody else has a playoff. Everybody has playoffs that go on for at least a month, if not 2 or 3. Why not us? NFL starts the playoffs in January. Super Bowl's in February. College football, we have 1 game. 2 games now. We got 2 games. We got a semifinal, and then a week later, we got a final. It's garbage. Let's see. SEC has 14 teams, dude. Like, what are we talking about here? I get you, Greg. You're making an argument that the SEC plays 7 conference games. Well, there are 10 teams in this conference. There were 12. They left because revenue sharing is important because they didn't think they were getting their just due. So what? You want to invite Arizona and Arizona State, which I've already said I don't want to do? So you can't get Nebraska to come back. Can't get Arkansas to come back. So who would you add? Garbage teams to fill out a 7-game schedule and go back to North and South divisions? No, we know it doesn't work. I don't want to go back to what the SEC is doing because I don't agree with what the SEC is doing. It works for them. It would not work for everybody else. That's kind of my point here. Because the ACC does the same thing. The ACC has the Atlantic and the Coastal. Guess who comes out of the ACC? Clemson or Florida? It. You know who comes out of the SEC? Auburn, LSU, Bama, Georgia. It doesn't. I mean, they're just stronger. They just have more. Man, there was a time when Arkansas, LSU, Bama were 3 of the top 5 teams in the country, and they played in the same division. And, oh, by the way, Ole Miss ain't always been terrible. Mississippi State ain't always been terrible. Florida's been pretty good. I mean, I get where you're coming from, bro. I'm not saying that I totally disagree with your argument, except to say that it only works for the SEC. The Pac-12 has a North and a South. They play 7 conference games. It doesn't work for them. Nobody takes that conference seriously. Matter of fact, you have an argument that UCF and Washington State is actually a pretty good ball game. That's kind of where I'm at with this. I don't like the round robin schedule of playing 9 conference games because that means you got to beat somebody twice. I don't want to have to beat somebody twice. I want to beat them once. Be done with it. Beat TCU twice last year. Did it vault us ahead of an Alabama team that lost to Auburn, didn't play in a conference championship? No, it did not. Nobody cared. TCU was good too. Nobody cared. That's kind of my thing. Until the committee says that they care, why are we discussing it? Miles Montoya. Isn't SEC owned by ESPN? Can you also answer my previous super chat? I missed the previous one. I'm been ranting. Clat thinks OU is best to hang in the shootout with Alabama. Thoughts? I made that, Miles. I made that video saying exactly that. That video was 2 weeks ago. So yeah, I do think the OU can hang with Bama offensively. I also think that we would get drummed defensively, and Bama is a way better defense than Oklahoma, so we wouldn't win the game. But offense versus offense, sure. But football isn't offense versus offense. We cannot keep pace with them defensively. That's the problem. To your second super chat, dude. What? No, the SEC is not owned by ESPN. They just have a large stock in it because they bought into the SEC because the SEC was the most powerful conference in college football. So when it was cool to give networks 2 conferences, ESPN got into it with SEC. Big Ten created its own, right? we got scuttled by the Longhorn Network. Pac-12 has its own network. They're not all very good, by the way. The ACC is developing one, but it ain't going to be very good. The only one that works is the one that's working for ESPN, but it's not really working because nobody really watches it. And what it comes down to is a bunch of folks that are SEC fans rooting for the SEC, which is fine, except they have ESPN across their name. Paul Feinbaum, Peter Burns, I can go on here. You know, they're in it for money. They don't own them. They just want to make some money on college football because they bought all of these rights to it. So, I mean, no. This is the answer to your question about does the ESPN own the SEC. Matter of fact, that's a glorious conflict of interest, and that could never happen. I don't think the NCAA would ever allow it. What would be the spread OU-Bama championship? Probably 27. Look, I don't know how to finally put a point on this except to say, look at Alabama's defense, right? I just looked at the score. The defense held LSU to 0. 0. Now, is LSU's offense Oklahoma's offense? No, nobody's saying that, right? But you know what's bad? Oklahoma's defense. As good as it's been since Ruffin has taken over, it's still not good. It's not good enough to compete with Alabama. It's just not. It's not good enough to compete with Clemson. I want to be wrong about that, but what I see today on November 4th tells me we would get run. I don't like knowing that we would get run, but that's how I see it. Let's see. Greg, bro, look at what media did to UT. We would have a top 10 matchup every Big 12 title and at least keep pace with the SEC. We are not keeping. If keeping pace with the SEC means making the college football playoff, then we've done that. Oklahoma has done that. We played in 2 of the last 3. We've done that. We've kept pace. You know what the SEC does that we don't do? Win national titles. That is why the SEC gets as much cachet as it has, is because Alabama has won 5 titles in 9 years. How many has Oklahoma won? How many has Georgia won? Okay, how many has Clemson won? All right? Those 2 teams get the benefit of the doubt because they win championships. LSU has won more championships this century than Oklahoma. Florida has won more championships this century than Oklahoma. Auburn has won as many championships this century as Oklahoma. You know, Florida State won a championship with Jimbo. Oregon played in a national title game, right? That's the only other team that I can really think of that is on par with what Oklahoma has been doing. But that was also back when it was Chip Kelly and they were humming right along. Right? When we're talking about being as good as the SEC, we're talking about winning national titles. That's what we're talking about. That's what I'm after. I'm after national titles. I'm not after staying in the game with Alabama. I'm not after staying in the game with Clemson. I want to win. I get that we've made 2 college football playoffs. I also know we haven't played in a national title game. You know, show of hands. Who remembers 2008? Right? I was in college then, man. I was a sophomore. I'm 31. I want to play in a national title and I want to win one. Telling me how to keep pace with the SEC doesn't get us into a national title game. Winning does. That's the long and the short of it. You know? Hey, Greg, I appreciate super chats, but you're going to yell at me. I mean, you can stop. Bro, it's your team. You're right, it is my team. It's your team too. My opinion matters just as much as yours does, dog. You asked me, I told you what I think. That's simple. RC Gusto read my book. I appreciate that, fam. Jacob Franklin. Steven puts things into perspective this time of season. We are obsessed with OU football. God is great. Keep up the good fight with a new angel. Absolutely. Let me see. All right, we're shutting it down tonight. Cool. Have to beat Bama for the title period. That's kind of the thing. That's what sucks. Gotta beat Alabama. Beat them in the Sugar Bowl. Beat them in the Sugar Bowl. But let's not pretend that AJ McCarron is Tua Tagovailoa. Right? That's my thing. Let's hope for UCF in the Sugar Bowl. Ugh, doubtful. Does OU make the playoffs? If we win out, Michigan flinches. I think if Michigan won out, they'd have the stronger resume, which is another reason why I think the college football playoff should be expanded. I hate having resume arguments, but that's where we are this year, is a resume argument. Because if you look at their one loss, you look at our one loss, you look at their road to the Big Ten championship, look at our road to the Big 12 championship. I mean, at best, we're going to have to beat Iowa State twice or West Virginia twice. That's where it's at now. It's not necessarily a fun place to be. All right, so for those of you that are left, we're going to call it a night because I feel like all I've been doing is yelling at folks, and I don't like just yelling at folks. So if you want to shout out, say what's up in the chat. I appreciate it. It's been a very long night. AME reference with sermon running was genius. Appreciate that. Let's see. Aaron G says I'm pissed as hell. RG Middle Age, do you think a one-loss Notre Dame team still gets in? I don't know. That's the answer to that question. I really don't know. All right, Jazz. Knight, Tijuana's out. Dez is out. Bryson's out. Ryan Meyer's out. To me, OU's kind of sitting at the same spot we were last year. Is there any chance OU makes some small improvements to keep close with Bama? Yeah, there's a chance. Just don't know what those small improvements might be at this point. CD Deuces, RC's out. Ian's out. Sooner Bear's out. Stewart's out. Ryan Riddick's out. Tenacity's out. Lloyd Grissom's out. Derek's out. Oklahoma's out. James Taylor Deuces. Mike McCoy out. Hunter's out. Val! Appreciate it. Staying up late. Cue Ball's out. Took's out. Or just that Tookie. Brian Black's out. Raw Material's out. Tom Jackson's out. Noah's out. Jake Small's out. Appreciate it, fam. Free Ray's out. Paul's out. Brandon Deuces. Jay Jones Deuces. Stephen Cason's out. Clint Johnson. Ryan Morewood. Lamar Garrett. David Blockinger. Sean Robertson. Michael Meyer. Pete Allen. Jazz Hurd. John Nakata. Appreciate you, fam. Rev keeps things in perspective for me. Corey Mitchell. Deuces. Unwary T. 405 boys out. Greg Tate's out. Love you too, bro. I mean that. ZSB Lou is out. Sheldon's out. Cody Hudson. Appreciate it, fam. We'll figure it out with Steven. Bradley Carragher's out. Victor's out. Jake Wilson. Shane Brasher. Brendan Johnson. Ron Williams. Daniel Ludstrom. Brian Longley. Jared Jones. Corbin Lally? I think so. Let's just go with Corbin for now. Darren's out. Hood's out. Don King. Long time friend of the channel. Jacob Thomas out. Williams Abala. Heavy D. Jacoby's out. What do you think about who you joining the SEC? I think they need to extend us an invite. Austin Kendall Deuces. Lad's out. Or is it Iliad? I think it looks like Lad. Let me see. Brandon Espit Deuces. JC's out. Tom Jackson Deuces. Jay Word's out. Brian Longley. Steve Kazin. Alright. That is it for me. If you like the videos, don't forget to like and subscribe because I upload a video every single day. It's always OU related, college football related, sports related. We have a good time. I will see you tomorrow. Deuces.